And hello, hopefully again, friends. My name is David Clay, and I'm going to give you in this video the interpretation from the Gospel of Thomas of saying number 18. Again, it's one of the popular sayings people have written in about and asked questions about, so we want to make sure that we cover it right away. Before all of these videos are over, we're going to cover all of the mystical sayings from the Gospel of Thomas and how they relate to other parts of the Gospel of Thomas. I want to take a moment to answer for you exactly what is the Gospel of Thomas. Sometimes I think it's vague in people's minds. They think it's just a hodgepodge collection of sayings that have no relationship to each other, and that's just not true. Now, to a biblical scholar, a lot of them will say in their papers that they write, and different, sometimes certain theologians will also say the same thing, that they are a disjointed hodgepodge collection of loose sayings ostensibly ascribed to the Master Jesus and ostensibly written by his twin brother by legend, Thomas Didymus. Didymus in Greek meaning twin. That is the scholarly approach to the Gospel of Thomas. That is not the mystical approach. The mystical approach to the Gospel of Thomas, which is the approach that I take because I am a practicing mystic and have been for a very long time, and a practicing mystic Christian at that. But to the mystic looking at the Gospel of Thomas, it becomes a manual. And if the mystic understands the meanings of the various sayings in the Gospel of Thomas, and had those revealed to him, the meanings, the truth of them, exactly what they mean, in mystical language translated into everyday language and understanding, then it is not a disjointed, disconnected, hodgepodge collection of loose sayings. It becomes a veritable manual. It's a manual, very carefully put together, very carefully planned. Each saying exactly where it's supposed to be relative to the other sayings. It's hard for a scholar to see that because, or an archaeologist or someone like that, sometimes even a theologian, because they don't look like they're connected. Some of them are so obscure and unclear as to the exact meaning of them because they use kind of a double language, a mystical language intentionally, that they think that they're disconnected and hodgepodge. Different sayings just loosely connected like that. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. You'll find out if you stay with these videos, and particularly when our website goes up, because we'll have some very extensive videos on that website, teaching videos from the classroom that will go into the exercises that you'll find, the spiritual techniques that you'll find in the Gospel of Thomas. Yeah, if you read the Gospel of Thomas, you don't see any spiritual techniques, do you? But there's a bunch of them there, and we will show you where they are and how you follow the technique. Because the Gospel of Thomas is actually a manual. It's a manual for ascendant consciousness, for the raising of your conscious vibration to the level of the Spirit, higher consciousness, and how to achieve it. That's exactly what the Gospel of Thomas is about. It is also, besides that, a treatise, a manual, if you will, on the spiritual gifts, how to develop the spiritual gifts. Now, we never make spiritual gifts an aim in and of themselves. But as it says in the book of Acts, you know, they did these things and made miracles, performed miracles, demonstrated miracles, so that they would confirm the word with signs following. Now, that's not what your preacher will tell you. That's not what the official church take on it is. The church take on it is that these miracles that you read about in the New Testament and in the Synoptic Gospels and the book of John, that they're simply a special dispensation that Jesus allowed for the apostles, just so the apostles could do them, so the church would get started. But that's just not the truth. It's just as simple. And this was a common practice in proto-Christians, proto meaning earlier, before Christians, before they were called Christians. That's what we call them, proto-Christian. In other words, these were the first Christians, first followers of Jesus. But miracles were very common during the first century and into the second century even. right up to, I would say, the time that the organized church was formed in the third, and actually started coming together in the third and fourth, did come together in the 4th century, and finally solidified its beliefs by the Council of Nicaea in 325. But that's when the miracles, with the exception of a few of the Catholic saints who practiced some of the traditions of Thomas, who performed miracles all but disappeared, except the occasional miracles, always an occasional miracle. But I mean an everyday practice of miracles. This is what the Gospel of Thomas teaches you to do. You don't find it on the surface, and you won't find it from a theologian, you won't find it from a biblical scholar, or a book about Thomas, even for that I've ever seen. But you will hear, and on our website as soon as it goes up. It's a very extensive website, very creative, very expensive at that too. I also want to mention that I appreciate everybody that has come together and sent us certain funds to help us with our project here of bringing together the Proto-Christian Order of Thomas. And I want to make the offer again to everybody that's listening to this video that if you send any kind of donation, you'll see where you can send it there at the bottom of the picture, or you can check it in the description of the video below this video. And everybody that sends a donation, any amount, it doesn't matter if it be $5 or $5,000, it's between one's the same. You become an automatic founding member of the Proto-Christian Order of Thomas, the ancient Proto-Christian Order of Thomas, and you go on the founding members page in perpetuity. You remain there from now on out. If anyone sends a donation between now and let's say about 4 weeks from now, next month, we automatically make you a founding member, which is quite an honor, I think, quite a distinction, particularly if you plan on practicing some of the things that you will learn from these videos and from the videos on the website. There's so much more to the Gospel of Thomas than you can possibly imagine. It is a veritable tome of mystical knowledge and techniques on developing gifts of the Spirit. Like I said, we don't develop gifts of the Spirit just for the sake of having psycho-spiritual gifts and being able to be clairvoyant or being able to heal. We do it as evidence, with science following, of the power and the presence of divinity. I mean, Christianity without miracles, without spiritual gifts, is a barren religion of promises of things to come in the next world. Kind of pie in the sky, by and by. It's not a way of taking it. Not to be too critical of the church. But our beliefs are just entirely different, and the Gospel of Thomas is entirely different. And we try to relate it back to the Bible itself, to the New Testament, to the canonical Gospels, and the book of John, as much as we can, so that it's clear in your mind exactly your understanding. Okay, with that being said, let's go right into my notes here, right into saying 18. If you have a copy of the Gospel of Thomas, you might want to read along with me, and I will read it first, and then we will go back and interpret it. I think that's the best way to do it. Sometimes do it one way, sometimes do it another. But right now, that's the way we're going to do it. Quote, "The disciples said to Jesus, 'Tell us how our end will come.' Jesus said, 'Have you found the beginning? Then, that you're looking for the end? You see, the end will be where the beginning is. Congratulations to the one who stands at the beginning. That one will know the end and will not taste death.'" Now let's go back and take this apart. I know some of you wonder, what in the world could that possibly mean? Let me read the first part, and then I will stop and explain that. The disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us how our end will come." The disciples were wanting answers. They were wanting to know. They were still lost in the world of temporality, in the world of time. You see, in the spiritual world, time is irrelevant. Time is a factor that just is pertinent, and it's part of this space-time continuum. It's part of the the aspects behind, the stage behind the polarity that we see in this world. It's a stage upon which polarity acts itself out. And remember what I've said about polarity in other videos. That's one of the main themes through the Gospel of Thomas, is the unification into the one and the movement away from the two being polarized. In the spiritual world, there is no polarity. There is no time, as we understand time. As a matter of fact, the disciples are asking here, and all of us want to know, well, when's the bus coming? when do we get paid? When's our next meal? I'm hungry now. We're wanting to know answers about time, always answers about time. And that consideration and that locked consciousness, locked into time, temporality as there being a great consideration to us, just as it is to the disciples here. It's a mistake. It's a habit. It's a bad habit. And we need to learn to break. That does not mean we don't get to work on time. It doesn't mean we don't do the videos on time and watch time there. It doesn't mean we're not aware of time, we're not cognizant of time, we don't obey time. We do. But we also learn to see through time, so that when it's appropriate, and when need be, when called for, we can rise above time. There's a whole video that will be on the website, which we hope will be have up in the middle of next month, thanks to those of you that are contributing. There's a whole video on there about overcoming temporality. At the same time, another video on overcoming polarity. Okay, let's go on. So Jesus says back to him, Jesus said, kind of cynically, have you found the beginning, then, that you're looking for the end? I'm sure that confounded the disciples when he said that, if that's exactly the way he said it. But he explains, you see, the end will be where the beginning is. The end will be where the beginning is. Now this is a reference directly, in a way, at least I imagine it's a direct reference, back to the book of Ecclesiastes, which I'm sure Jesus was very familiar with. And let's look in the book of Ecclesiastes and see how that relates to what we're reading right now in the Gospel of Thomas, and it's saying 18. There's two verses in the book of Ecclesiastes that very directly relates to this idea about temporality, about time, and our fascination, our human fascination and human lock on time. We just won't let it go. In chapter 1, verse 9, in the book of Ecclesiastes, it says, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. Now, remember, this was written about 3,000 years ago, maybe plus, ostensibly by Solomon, I would say. I think he calls him a preacher. We don't really know for sure. But whoever did had a 21st century understanding of quantum physics. Because what it is saying here is exactly what quantum physicists are speculating about the nature of time. That time may be cyclical, if it exists at all today, which it doesn't really exist. Only exists here. It doesn't exist in the true spiritual world. That's the phenomena of the space-time continuum time is. But that phenomena is cyclical in nature. It goes on to say, in the book of Ecclesiastes, all over in the chapter 3 and in verse 15, this is really a fascinating one. That which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. All time is one time. It's happening right now. It's hard to see. To help you think of that and to understand that a little better, think of, say, the movie Dr. Zhivago. I'm sure most of you have probably seen Dr. Zhivago. A great movie, a long movie. Anyway, if you were holding the motion picture reel of the movie Dr. Zhivago, you would actually be holding all of the events in the life of Dr. Zhivago all at one time. It'd be right there before you. And it's the same way with time. The only way we can make sense of Dr. Zhivago is to thread it through a projector and to look at it frame by frame on a screen. 16 frames, or how many frames they go per second, per minute. And the same thing is true about time. The only way we humans, in our understanding, in our polarized lock on reality, frozen polarized view of reality, and our love affair that we have with time, because we just love time, we just let it dictates everything to us. Most of us kill time, beat time, do different things to time, as they say. But for us to make sense out of time, we have to thread it through consciousness, looking at it event by event by event, just as Dr. Zhivago has to be scene by scene by scene. But Dr. Zhivago, all of you can be held there at one time. And all of the time in your life can be represented in one time. You know, they say people that are drowning, all the events of their life flash before them instantly. How could that be, you say? Because all time happens at once. All time happens at once. As you are now looking at this video, somewhere you're being born. And somewhere you're also dying at this very moment. You're just not aware because you're looking at the frames individually. Enjoy the frames. There's nothing wrong with that. But you need to be aware of it so that you grow in the level of consciousness and understanding. All right. Let's go back and look at this one more time here. You see, the end will be where the beginning is. In the cyclical nature of time, the end and the beginning are together, right there together. If you have a mystical understanding and you have an ascended consciousness, a higher level of consciousness, you have no problem with that. Your beginning is the same as your end. Your end is the same as your beginning. Jesus goes on to say, congratulations to the one who stands at the beginning. That one will know the end and will not taste death. Because you can stand at the beginning and still be at the end while you are at the beginning, as contrary as that may sound to you, but you can, and you have full understanding of that, then that means that you have ascended in consciousness and your understanding and will not taste death in the way that other people taste death. Your movement between this life and the next will be like walking into a different room. Just walking into a different room. A much better room, probably, than the one you're in now. You know, some of you may have trouble accepting that. Believe me, though. Believe me, I know. I know. I've gone through a lot of amazing things through this gospel of Thomas information. Things that you simply would not believe if I were to tell you right now. You swear I was lying to you. So I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to let you discover for yourself. So again, let me remind all of you, be sure if you'd like to contribute, help us have more videos, more training, more understanding, mystical understanding. Send your donations. Become a founding member. Everybody that sends a donation between now and 4 weeks from now, next month, will be listed as a founding member. You'll be listed on the founding members page on our website in perpetuity. The address is right there on the screen. If you don't see it on the screen, it's in the description below. We appreciate everything you do. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great week.